Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Front Load and another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do the usual disclaimers, and I know I said I wouldn't rant, but trigger warning, cursing, goddammit. So, for all of you just recently catching up, if you just now realized that the Christian Nationalist Party has taken over the Republican Party, I have to ask you where the hell you've been over the last 30 years. Because this has been going on for decades. This isn't new. It was front and center in the George W. days, okay? Front and center. Front and center. Okay? It's been going on since even before that, but that was when it first got its taste of power, I would like to say. It's always been hot behind the scenes, but that's when it was just finding its footing, I would think. This isn't new. This has been going on for decades. Decades. The idea that church and state should be separated hasn't actually happened in more years than I care to count. Because everyone wants to use their faith, I say this as a person with faith, to justify things. Here's the thing though. Your religious beliefs do not belong inside the law. You represent constituents from every single background, every minority, every disability, every belief background, and with no belief at all. When you do this kind of crap, you're trying to impose your beliefs not just on the constituents that you represent coming from all those backgrounds, but on the rest of us. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. You're allowed to have your faith, to practice your faith. You can be loud and proud about it if you wish to be. But it should have no bearing on legislation. It should have no bearing, especially in our Supreme Court. But here we are. And I'm just one of those Gen Xers that you all used to shake your heads at when you would sit there and say, why is this generation look so hopeless, and why are they all so nihilist? This is why! Because we saw all this. We saw the reality of it. We also knew, learning from others who protested before us, about how far those protests actually go. Every single politician out there is bought and paid for. They regurgitate this Christian nationalist insanity because it gets them votes. Particularly amongst a group of people who are predisposed to completely get themselves up in a frenzy for anything that doesn't back their religious beliefs. My opinion is this: if your faith is so fragile that you cannot handle living in a world where don't put faith in your laws. Now, you can make a pretty sound argument. 10 Commandments, it's basically in every law, but I'll counter this argument with this. Those are common sense. I know common sense is not common these days, more the pity for me, right? Please shoot me. But you could say that every major religion, and even those with no religion at all, can usually agree with a good majority of the tenets. Do not steal, do not murder. Unless you're a Christian nationalist with your little weird reaches and workarounds. They've always been Christian nationalists. This isn't a sudden infiltration. This is just the results of several decades of them infiltrating the GOP. There are no old school Republicans anymore. At least not what we have now. And the sad thing is, the few old school Republicans that are still around are regurgitating this nonsense too, because they know it equals votes. Now, that being said, to all the Christian nationalists who want to, target me, what's new? Must be a day that ends in Y. If you really think these politicians actually reflect your views, what drugs are you on? And I need the name of your dealer, because that must be some good stuff. As a person who has wheeled and dealed with my state's politicians and worked on national and international levels, let me put it to you point blank. These politicians that are regurgitating these views, who are screaming the loudest, when you get them behind closed doors, here's what they listen to. This is what I had to lower myself to get at least a few things done, which I am watching with my own eyes slowly get ripped away from us disabled people. Ballot box, wallet. That's all it is, folks. They don't care about your idealism. They don't care about your faith. They care about the almighty dollar and to hold on to power at all costs. If you think they care about you and me and our individual rights as human beings, I've got beachfront property in Kansas to sell you. Rock bottom prices. All right, to the disclaimers. In the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It was written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they've threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill, folks. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's link to their public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC actually sees through with their threat. Also included in there, the Ozark's first article in regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation, a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens, that has impending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following. Sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor who still lives on the premises with full access to the boys, up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy lying and chasing after drag queens and trying and failing to defund public libraries to actually do his job. And you got a governor off his nut. So please send help. Read those articles. Share them on all your social media. Also in there included is all the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including the link to this assessment done by Dr. Fredda, Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rosenberg Center Down petition. Trigger warning, when we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please use your headphones, all right? Another trigger warning, this channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and we speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously, parental supervision is advised, all right? So let's jump into it, because I'm God. The stupid burns, people, the stupid burns. I apologize again for my ugly mug, but it's much more comfortable to do videos this way. When a student is When a student is hypothesized to be escaping activities or situations, several constructive strategies can be considered. First, and as described above, X could be systematically taught to escape these activities in a way that is more socially acceptable. No, break, or stop. Giving me my bodily autonomy and finding out, why do I feel the need to escape? A novel idea! Shocking. Then the problem behavior. Second, can I say something? You want to know why most autistics do not say no or stop and will do a behavior instead? It's because things like ABA teaches us that we're never allowed to say no. That we are supposed to allow the touch, the hug of our bodies and not say no to it. That we're not allowed to say no when there's something that seems weird to us, or say no to social interaction. That's why we don't generally say it, because we've been systematically told that we're not allowed to. And that if we say no, or break, or stop, that's considered a behavior. So you telling us to do the things that we would love to do, not going to help. Not by those who are drinking the ABA Kool-Aid. Individuals who don't think we have the right to bodily autonomy. People who think that we must get autistics to allow unwanted access to our persons on the name of this fantastic idea of normality, which actually has no basis in the real world. But more on that someday, hopefully. Second, an analysis should be done to determine exactly what activities from which she tries to escape. These activities should then be changed so that there is less reason to escape. You ever think maybe it's the activity in and of itself? Let me give you an example. When I was kind of coerced into playing softball, when my autistic ass hates participating in sports, special level hate. Special level. I will go hike. I love gymnastics. I loved them when I was a kid. But doing things like baseball and all, that was my personal definition of hell as a kid. Changing softball to be more accommodative was not going to change my opinion on having to be forced to be there, if you know what I mean, okay? Good, we got it? Perfect. All right. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to have to go grab my computer charger because that was an alert from my computer. So bear with me a second. And I'm sorry for flashing the Bermuda shorts, but my defense, they're comfy. 1 second, folks. Yes, over here. We're going to switch the computer a little bit, folks. So I can get this plugged up real quick. There we go. Sorry for the close-up of my ugly mug. There we go. Balancing is fun. Oh, the visuals suck here. Hold on. I do not have an edit button. Let's try this. Again, sorry for the close-up. Here at the very edge of my coffee table. At least I finally got some flattering light. Alright. Back to where we were, shall we? In the current proposed behavior modification treatment plan, the strategy seems to reinforce participation in activities from which she is trying to escape and punishing escape attempts. I hate to break it to you, Fredda, but that's also modern ABA. I can say that with my full chest. Let's see here. Unless an activity is determined to be high priority, related to health or safety, there is no reason to pursue activities in which she has clearly indicated that she is not interested in participating. Can someone underline that for me? I need that on a t-shirt now. Because they've been doing that to us for decades. Forcing us into social interactions that we have zero interest in, and then punishing us when we show minimal participation. If I'm going to participate in something, I need some kind of motivation. Kind of like an actor may ask what their motivation is if they're improvising a scene. Not too much different there, you know. The activities are listed on her school schedule do not appear to be high priority activities. Sit down, beanbag toss. Jesus Christ, you're going to punish someone for not wanting to participate in a beanbag toss? Oh, God forbid I want to be treated as someone my actual age. I'm autistic. Shouldn't I want to do the baby activities? Please, God, shoot me. Third, X should be allowed and encouraged to choose activities in which she will participate. Thank you! Want to know where an autistic gets most of our social interaction outside of social media? Amongst our own, engaged in a subject that we love and are hyper-fixated on. For example, I like to hike and take pictures. Want to know where most of my social interactions happen outside of my mom? It's when I go out walking on my days off. When I go to the parks, go hiking, take pictures of nature. I love doing that photography. I love to go walking. It clears my head. You see where I'm going with. And then you will find in those activities, strangely enough, other like-minded souls. Not all of them autistic. So there's your interaction with neurotypicals for my day. That we can talk about photography with. What's our favorite season to go out walking and take pictures? Mine is obviously fall. Obviously autumn. It should go without saying. If you're going to force us to socially interact, why not? And I've taught this when I worked at the state. Well, how can I get them excited about it? By engaging them in an activity that actually situates around a topic of interest. Say your kid is obsessed with dinosaurs. I was obsessed with fossil rocks when I was a kid, but that's besides the point. Some of us were focused on dinosaurs, right? Why not, to encourage social interaction, get them to participate in a group of kids? I would say even do it outside of school so they don't feel that added pressure, because there's added pressure. And go to a museum together when they're having a dinosaur blown display. No, there's a lot of things you can do without forcing us into neurotypical activities we have no interest in. Because if you do that, we're not going to try and get that proper social interaction that y'all demand out of us. It should go without saying. It's basic logic, but logic is a rare commodity these days. Please kill me. I know I say that a lot, but this recommendation supports the recommendation of Dr. X, who writes in her June 10, 1990 report, I recommend that X be allowed the greatest amount of freedom possible based on her functioning and skills regarding how she spends her free time choices of activities. Tiffany, giving autistics choices? You monster! Cue autism mommy TM right now. But you don't even know what they want. Karen, she just drew a picture of a T-Rex. Pretty sure now I know what she's interested in. Anyway, sorry folks, I'm in a bit of a mood today. I apologize. Providing increased control of daily events is a strategy that has been extensively documented to reduce problem behavior related to escape. It has been, folks. Remember when I told you we were discussing this kind of thing in the 1990s? Zibiday. Oh, you want to see when this all started? Barbara Coulter Katz Davenport, 1995. Dunlap, Kern Dunlap, Clark and Robbins, 1991. Dyer, Dunlap, and Winterling, 1990. Remember when Dr. Israel sit there with his full chest saying, we don't have those stats? We have those stats. We have them from the 90s all the way up to now. Well, let's make it short and sweet, folks. I've taken up enough time today. Makes it pretty simple, doesn't it? The JRC is forcing these things on us, these activities that these kids had no input in, as rewards. And it makes you do these nonsensical utterances and behaviors in order to earn these activities that they planned that you have no interest in. Granted, it is the least of the issues that this horrific torture center causes, but you see my point, right? This whole place is a joke. It has ignored the work of social workers, case managers, psychologists, advocates, psychiatrists. Basically, they've ignored the advancement even within the medical model, which is at its snail's pace and still has more room than I care to think about because it's depressing for improvement. They're ignoring even all of that. It's not just listening to us. They won't even listen to their own colleagues. And that should say all there needs to be said. And we'll close on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time, so please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time, folks, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.